This is the video of Amunhotep II. He was the 7th king of the 18th dynasty and the second son of Thuthmoses III. He ruled Egypt from 1427 BCE to 1401 BCE for 26 years, and he came to the throne when he was 18 years of age. The making of a king was a long process. Kings of Egypt would choose the crown prince very early, and they would start educating them and giving them minor responsibilities. One of the first minor responsibility for Amunhotep II was to receive the deliveries of wood from Byblos, the red cedar wood which was so precious to the ancient Egyptians for making doors and coffins and furniture. His second appointment was the high priest of Lower Egypt. Wow, that was a big step up from booking in wood coming off ships. But I should imagine that Thuthmoses III wanted to see how well he would do, because this is about working with people, motivating them, organising them, getting agreement with people. His annals give us the impression that he was very athletic in his deeds, and he became a captain in his father's army. So he went on various campaigns with his father before he became king. Remember, he became king at 18, so probably he went through the rites of passage of being a man around about 15 and married by the time he was 16. His chief wife was Tia, and she gave him 10 sons and 1 daughter. And there were various other ladies of the harem in his life, had at least 3 or 4. His main concern were those who dwelled beyond the sands. So beyond the sands was Canaan, which the Egyptians called the retinue. Amuru, which is what the Egyptians called Syria, and then the Levant, which was Hurry, Mitanni, Babylon and Haiti. So that was who was dwelling across the sands. Remember, the Egyptians wanted a buffer zone, which was Canaan, and they were not interested in empire building. There was no way Egyptians want to live outside of their own borders, simply because of their religion. There's only one duat, well there's actually 2, one in Upper Egypt at Abydos and another one at North Saqqara under Sokar Osiris. So Osiris and Sokar, who was the god of the dead for Lower Egypt, had been fused together into one deity, Sokar Osiris. So if you couldn't travel through the duat, you couldn't live in the afterlife or visit the afterlife every night time. So you'd wander a ghost for the rest of eternity. So that's why they were so passionate about staying within their own borders. Remember, these conflicts outside of Egypt were to keep the trade routes open and to keep down any threat towards invasion of Egypt. Those were the main considerations. In year 3, Amunhotep II was leading his army up round the city of Qatna, and he was attacked by 7 princes of Kadesh. He won the battle, he killed the 7, and he had their bodies tied to the prow of his ship as he sailed back to Egypt. Then he dispatched 2 or 3 of the bodies to Nubia, just to show the Cushites what would happen if you rebelled against the king of Egypt. In year 7, there was a rebellion in Syria, backed by the Mitannis. So he went up there and sorted out the rebels and started Egyptianizing young princes. He was going to continue his father's education policy of taking foreign princes back to Egypt and Egyptianizing them, showing them what their civilization was like. Do you really want to fight people who can build these magnificent pyramids and tombs that this is a whole different world. So that we call Kadesh, and that awful place you call Amuru, retinue, Levant, where you're squabbling and fighting. Here we have peace, we have harmony, we have Mart. In year 9, there was another rebellion around the Sea of Galilee. And this time, Amunhotep II had had enough. He enslaved 101,128 people into captivity. They were called prisoners. And prisoners were awarded to different soldiers in the army and used for the internal labour of the bureaucracy. Eventually the king died, and he was buried in KV 35 in the Valley of the Kings. The tomb was never robbed. However, in the 21st dynasty, it was used as a cache to safeguard other royal mummies. And when we get to the 21st dynasty, I'll explain in more detail. But right now, all you need to know right now is that his body was found intact inside the coffin and the sarcophagus inside his tomb in 1898. The cache was discovered by Victor Clement George Philippe Loret. He was a French Egyptologist and his father came from Belgium. He found the tomb 1898, and there's a long list of royal bodies in this cache. Thuthmoses IV, who would be the son and successor of Amunhotep II, Seti II, Ramesses III, who eventually fights the Sea People, Ramesses IV and Ramesses VI. The Tia, wife of Amunhotep, was found in K32, which Loret excavated. KV 33 was another one that Loret excavated. It was a non-royal tomb. So he became head of the Egyptian Antiquities Service, and excavated extensively in the Valley of the Kings. KV 36 was another one of his excavations. It was used for nobles' burial. KV 38 was the reburial of Thuthmoses I by Thuthmoses III. KV 40 was an unknown tomb. KV 41 was another unknown tomb, but may have belonged to a minor queen or official. KV 42 was the wife of Amunhotep II. The tomb was originally built for her, but it was actually used by a mayor of Thebes called Senefer. And of course, his claim to fame was KV 34, which was the tomb of Thuthmoses III. So Loret was a pretty busy archaeologist, and his main interest was the Valley of the Kings. Now, if you have a look at the design of Amunhotep II's tomb, it's a standard 18th dynasty tomb, but we need to look at it in more detail. You see those descending passages that are cut through the shale rock. Okay, so that's all mining. That's all shale rock. That's Essna Shale, as it's known. But in that region, there's also a very hard quartzite, which can run deeper into the mountain. So as you see the descending passageway coming down, there's this shaft. Now, in the Victorian times, when they were excavating these tombs, it was, oh, well, that was to keep out the robbers. But for a closer examination of them, what it actually was a test pit. And the test pit was to see if there was any quartzite in any other layers. So there's your descending passageway. Here is your vertical shaft, your test pit. As they're mining down, they're making sure that it's all nice soft shale, that there's no quartzite there. Because as soon as they find any quartzite, they'll stop, and then they will go above it and they will start making the burial chamber, the upper and lower chamber. So all these 18th dynasty tombs had two hallways, the burial and the upper festival hall. And the burial chamber was always offset to the west being the duat. So remember, the burial is about the journey through the underworld, and the upper chamber is about the rebirth. Okay, so it's quite interesting what those vertical shafts are. They're test pits to make sure that when they do create these other chambers and passages, that it's good soft Essner shale and no quartzite involved. Because if you did start, so if you did say, okay, let's go along this seam, and you got halfway through and you found that it was all quartzite, you've wasted a lot of time. So they were very clever engineers and miners from the workers' village. They were learning their trade all the time. And remember, the decoration on the tomb was done within 70 days. But if you look at Amunhotep II, he doesn't have those stick people that his father Thuthmoses III had. He's got beautiful art forms on his tomb. So I think that they finished this tomb, well, I think they started this tomb during the reign of Thuthmoses III, and it was finished maybe 1 or 2 years after the king came to the throne, because it is in such beautiful condition and it's one not to miss. Okay, that's our conclusion. Please press the subscribe button. Encourage your friends to visit this channel and support it. And I'll see you real soon. Bye for now.